Hello and welcome to Bottom Line. Well, in a big development just a short while back, the Ministry of Home Affairs has taken a major decision to allow stranded students, migrant workers, tourists and pilgrims to return to their destinations. The interstate movement of these stranded people will be facilitated by the respective states and union territories. Anyone willing to be transported back home will have to be medically screened both at the source and the destination. This decision, of course, comes as a big relief for lakhs, including those from the region stranded outside. The MHA decision also comes at a time when state governments in the northeast are already mulling steps to get back stranded people. Now, the MHA has made it clear that the respective states have to coordinate among themselves to facilitate the movement of these people, the interstate movement. Anyone wanting to travel has to register themselves the same way as Assam has facilitated the inter-district movement in the last 2 to 3 days. So it's going to be a huge logistical challenge, but nevertheless this decision had to be taken because a lot of people, lakhs and lakhs, the migrant issue, the daily wage earners, the migrants issue has been something that the government has tried to set right for some time now, and hence it's a major decision by the MHA. So we will be joined by our correspondents from Meghalaya and Manipur, two states apart from Assam, which are already taking steps to bring in those stranded. They'll be joining us live straight away. Meanwhile, today in Bottom Line, we shall also discuss with doctors and experts as to why, despite taking all precautions, medical professionals, even doctors, are getting infected with COVID. And is herd immunity practical in a country like India? For this, we'll be joined by Dr. Nabojyoti Gogoi, Integrated Diseases Surveillance Program Officer and SDMO Dibrugarh. From Dibrugarh, Dr. Sindrang Warjri from Nazrat Hospital, Shillong will also join us. Dr. Sangeeta Datta is already with us in the studios in Guwahati. But before that, we will go to Sharat Chandra. Sharat Chandra, our Manipur Bureau Chief. Sharat, big decision by the MHA. It has decided to allow stranded migrant workers, students, tourists to come back to their respective states. This comes at a time, Sharat, when already the Manipur government is in touch with the center, is in touch with the Indian Railways to facilitate the movement of students and youths. So clearly, a message may have been passed, and some of the state governments in Northeast are already working towards it. But what will be the immediate plan now as far as Manipur is concerned, Sharat?
Yeah, Nabarun, MHA allowing the movement of the stranded is a very psycho relief for those stranded at the different parts of the country. And also Manipur government is also seriously working on it to bring back all those stranded at the different states, different cities, different towns across the country. And just a couple of days ahead, the Chief Secretary, Dr. J. Suresh Babu, already confirmed that he have requested the center at the same time the Indian Railway also to organize the train service. And he also further added that without this train service evacuating the people, Manipuri people stranded at the different places of India, in the country, is a very difficult one. Yes, he rightly said that many people, including the students, are stranding at the different places very far, like Bangalore, Chennai, even in Kerala also, in Punjab also, in Hyderabad also, in Delhi also. So evacuating them without the help of railway is again going to be very difficult task. So once the Indian Railway is going to have any kind of this special train service to evacuate, then it will be easier for the state government and also for the entire Northeast state. Dr. J. Suresh Babu also confirmed that he is in touch with the chief secretaries of the entire Northeast state so that coordinated evacuation work can be done together. Nabarun.
Sharat, also has Manipur been able to make a list of people from the state who are stranded outside? Does the government have the exact numbers, and in which areas are they concentrated? Is that data already available with the government? Because it is also necessary to coordinate with the other state governments which have to facilitate the movement, and all that has to be done pretty quickly.
Yeah, Nabarun, well, state government is working on it, and state government also do have this one Tengbang. Tengbang is the health. This is a website actively working right now. This website is, and through this website, many of the stranded people has been benefited with the monetary assistance from the Manipur government also. And in the very recent time, the Manipur government also already noticed to those stranded that if they want to come back to Manipur, then they can apply for it. Nabarun, at this point of time, many of them also want to come back to Manipur. At the same time, few of them want to stay back at their own places. And this is the reason that the Manipur government is trying very hard. And also at the same time, the Manipur government also already given the tasks to local MLAs. Manipur do have the 60 MLAs, 60 constituency. All the MLAs has given the task collect those stranded people from their respective constituencies, so that Manipur government can have the exact number who want to come back to this Manipur in their state during this evacuation mission, Nabarun.
All right, Sharath, hold on there, hang on there. We also have Roshan Rai, our Meghalaya Bureau Chief, joining us live from Shillong. Roshan, the Deputy Chief Minister, State Deputy Chief Minister Preston Tinsong had yesterday said that Meghalaya would like to facilitate, first of all, inter-district movement and also movement of those stranded in other parts of the region. But as far as those stranded outside the region is concerned, the lockdown norms have to be relaxed now that the MHA has announced its decision to allow interstate movement, so as to allow those stranded outside to get back to their respective destinations. Will the Meghalaya government swing into action and at least try and first of all get those from the state who are stranded, possibly in Assam, to get back and look at other means on how to get those stranded in Bangalore, Delhi, Chennai in due course of time? What will be the action plan? Any updates?
Well, yes, that is the action plan that the state government is working on. First thing first, those stranded within the state, inter-district. After that comes like neighboring. Say we have around over 2,000 people stranded alone in Assam. So, of course, that will be the next step. And after that, those who were stranded, who are stranded all across the country. Yes, there are over 10,000 people who are stranded all over the country. And the government, of course, has all the data with them, and they are working on it. And it is expected that with this direction from the MHA, things will move faster and better.
Well, Roshan, can there be clarity now as far as is the Meghalaya government working on the data available as to clearly how many people are stranded outside and in which parts of the country, so that they can start their respective coordinations with those state governments? Have they initiated anything like that? You also interacted with the Deputy CM and CM both today and yesterday. Any updates on that, Roshan?
Yes, of course, they have state-wise data of how many students and those working are stranded all over the country. And like I mentioned earlier, yes, before the MHA order, they were already working on a system. Efforts were on to first get those who are stranded within the state, then those neighboring, and then the country. Of course, the state government, now that the direction has been given, the state government will move ahead in this. And it will be only made known tomorrow when we get in touch with them. Of course, we did try to get in touch with them, but we haven't got any answers as of yet.
Roshan, any updates on when inter-district movement will resume in Meghalaya for maybe a short span of time? Any updates on that? Is there a real requirement for that, first of all?
Yes, see, what we were when we were last informed, we were told that the government is working on the modalities to work it out. When and how is something that will be known, made known later. But so far, we haven't have anything on this regard.
All right, Roshan, hold on there. Sharath, again, the same question I asked you yesterday. Now that the MHA has formally said that, well, there can be interstate movement, of course, by following due protocols. Can we expect the Manipur government to at least start from the region? For instance, there are close to 100 or more maybe stranded in Assam. Can we see the Manipur government at least make an effort in the next 2 or 3 days to at least get them back? Because the more you take in, the better, at least some people taken care of, because all these people who are going back have to be put in quarantine, either institutional or home, depends on the situation. But then, the earlier you start, the better it is.
Yeah, Nabaran, we do have the information that Manipur state is going to flag up some of the buses so that they can bring back first of all from Guwahati. In Guwahati, Manipur Bhavan also many of the students, many of the patient party are now standing. At the same time, in the different part of the Assam also, many of the students, many of the this patient party are standing. So first of all, Manipur government is trying to evacuate those nearest at the proximity, so that even then the long way evacuation is concerned. In case some stranded people while they are coming back to Manipur, in case if somebody in case they do have the problem of sickness, then they can lodge inside the Manipur Bhavan that is located in the Guwahati. So Manipur government is working on it, and Manipur government is also trying at the same time to develop some community level this quarantine facilities, and this particular task is also given to the local MLAs so that they can identify the place and suitable buildings where those stranded people while coming back to state can be put on the quarantine according to the guidelines given by the World Health Organization, at the same time ICMR, and also from the Union Health and this Family Welfare.
All right. Well, we are also being joined over the phone by Dr. Prasenjit Biswas, Professor Nehu. Dr. Biswas, finally, the MHA deciding to allow interstate movement, to allow migrants, students, workers, tourists, pilgrims to return back to their destinations. Big move, but comes with a lot of logistical challenges. Dr. Biswas?
Yeah, the logistical challenges will be taken care of by the respective states. Now, Railway Department has to move rails, which will carry these migrant workers back home after medical checking, testing, and then after they return home, they will be quarantined. Now, this entire procedure at least would open up a lot of hope for the people who are stranded in various states and away from their own homes. Now, the logistical issue, the other part is the expenses. I think the central government and the state government in their joint initiative should bear the larger part of the expense, because migrant workers are already exhausted, drained of their resources. At this point of time, they have to be given humanitarian assistance, as in the case of people who are brought from abroad, and they have been assisted by being brought from abroad without much of a cost. So in the same way, transporting people from one part of the country to another is not a huge cost. I think this cost could be managed between the state government and the central government. Therefore, one has to identify migrants who are waiting to move. For example, we have seen yesterday evening in Surat, laborers from Orissa demanded to return home. We have also seen in the Orissa-Bengal border, there are many migrant workers assembling who want to enter Bengal. Similarly, there are many Northeasterners who are stranded in Mumbai, in Calicut, in Tiruvananthapuram, in Madras. They have to be brought back to home, and respective state governments must open a helpline or an app in terms of which the migrants can contact, and they can be brought back home. I think the logistical part has to be worked out in details, in meticulousness by the respective state government.
Absolutely.
With the assistance from central
Absolutely.
government.
Thank you so much, Dr. Biswas, for your perspective on that. We'll go back to Roshan Rai in Shillong, our Meghalaya Bureau Chief. Yes, Roshan, do you have any more updates? You want to give some information? Roshan, go ahead.
Oh. Yes, Nabaran, I would just like to inform you that the Deputy Chief Minister had also informed that apart from facilitating, working on to get those stranded outside back home, the government has also extended a financial assistance of rupees 3,000 each to over 10,000 people who are stranded outside who have registered with the government. So it is something which is really beneficial for them, at least at this point in time, till the time they are brought back to the state.
And also, at least the state has the data of the number of people who are there, because financial assistance is being not only by Meghalaya, all the states, including Manipur, Assam, are giving financial assistance to all those stranded outside. So clearly, if not everybody, at least we would like to believe more than half of the names already with us of the people who are stranded outside. Sharat, my last question to you. Railways are still out of the picture. Railways are still out of the picture as per the latest directive. Buses will ferry those stuck in other parts. That is not an easy task, considering if you have to take a bus from Delhi to all the way to Guwahati or Imphal. That's by no means easy. I mean, we all know it took 3 days for the 389 students to reach Guwahati from Kota over 3 days. So that's a very tedious journey. Any progress on the Manipur government's request to the railways for a special train? Any updates today? Anything?
Yeah, Nabarun, you say we already spoke to the Chief Secretary of Manipur, Dr. J. Suresh Babu, and he confirmed that a couple of days ahead there was one video conference between these cabinet secretaries. So during the video conference, he already requested Center as well as the Indian Railway to organize a train service so evacuation work can be done smoothly. And he at the same time, he also suggested that without the help of the Indian Railway, this evacuation mission will be a very difficult task. So Dr. Suresh Babu already expressed it. And yes, so far, the green signal is concerned. The green signal is awaited from the center. And once, I think, as MHA allows the stranded people movement, then I think they are expecting that they may receive green signal from the center as well as Indian Railway, Nabarun.
Thank you so much, Sharat Chandra. That is our Manipur Bureau Chief, Sharat Chandra. Also, thank you so much, Roshan Rai, for joining us with all those updates. Thanks indeed. Shifting the focus of the discussion now, we'll be joined live from Dibrugarh by Dr. Navajyoti Gogoi, SDMO Dibrugarh. In our studios in Guwahati, we have Dr. Sangeeta Datta. We'll also be joined by Dr. Sinrang Warjri from Shillong. Thank you, all of you, for joining me on Bottom Line. The thing is that we have been observing is despite taking all the precaution, a lot of doctors across the country have tested positive for COVID-19 and indeed across the globe. If I can go to Dr. Navajyoti Gogoi first. Dr. Gogoi, what you have seen in many parts of the country and the globe, thankfully none in Northeast so far, is that many doctors have also got infected by COVID-19. Now, we are not talking about private hospital doctors, but COVID hospital ones, who take all the precautions. Why do you think is that happening? Is it because of lack of safety equipment, which should not be the case? Or is it because we are yet to fully gauge the nature of the virus and adopt full-fledged precautionary measures? Dr. Gogoi.
See, first of all, this COVID-19 scare and it's that disease itself is very highly contagious. And the present world, since 1918, this is the second pandemic in the world. Most of the health professionals are not aware of such contagious disease to combat. So, and the skill to combat this has been hardly practiced throughout the world. Even in the places like advanced countries like Italy and USA, probably you all are observing. And it is such a contagious disease, so none of them were really prepared actually for that. That's what we observed. What I think, probably we are lacking a drill. And we in Dibrugarh, just when we got ourselves prepared, the day we have declared that we are fully prepared to face this disaster. So that day, this Deputy Commissioner, Pallav Jha, and myself, Superintendent of Police, and Assam Medical College Principal, we four of them started thinking to do a real scenario drill. So we went for that drill. It was a drill of 3 hours period where everything was captured and observers were observing. One of our health professionals, we used him as a patient. So there we saw the whole scenario came into light. So there were a lot of mistakes made at different levels, right from the 108 picking up the case and the police containment, the doing and other clinical procedures that has been followed following that announcement of a positive case. So that was it gave us a real true picture that needed to be done. And there were other factors also. See, to combat such a virus is such a tiny little thing. To get ourselves completely packed, it is just a mere impossible thing. And if someone wears a PPE, then only he can realize what type of a time he was to pass through when he's under the cover, full cover. So it's a really difficult thing. We need very, very high-tech materials for complete,
can we say,
to keep ourselves completely protected.
Can we say we have been able to put strict do's and don'ts in place nationwide by now? And if you would specifically want to talk about Assam and Northeast, of course, you have just told us how complicated things were, but at least we don't have any case in the Northeast so far. So we can assume that, well, the practices here by the doctors have been in a way right. But as a nation now, do you think we have the strict do's and don'ts in place at the moment?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
There are different ways doctors have got infected. Say if you see the real scenario out here of the COVID positive cases, many people are carrying the virus and not showing the initial signs and symptoms of COVID disease. So that is a very scary thing, and that is the most important thing we need to look for. Every procedures in Italy and other world, what we have seen, what we have come to know about it, there were a lot of cardiologists, lot of sonologists who got infected. Actually, what had happened really is that they got infected earlier. They came to know about there is an outbreak in that place. So that is the very important thing what you need to do. That's why recently, in last week, we did a survey in Dibrugarh, because we don't have any positive case in Dibrugarh here. So what we did to go for the asymptomatic carriers, we went for a massive sort of a collection, a random, that is quasi-random sampling. We have selected some hotspot and started collecting samples randomly from the community. There we have studied that luckily all of them came negative. That's a good sort of at least epidemiological proof and some evidence that we are not having any community circulation of virus in this area. So that is biggest for that we need to go for a very big for India, country like India.
Yes.
It is many not in all places. It will not be possible for that.
Dr. Sindrang Warjuri, for doctors who are in COVID hospitals, at least they know that they have to take all the precautionary measures, but these are different times. What about the threat to the doctors in private hospitals which are not designated COVID hospitals? Do you see the threat much bigger? Because you never know. Once a place turns into a red zone, you never know who is carrying what.
Yeah, exactly. So there are these reports where you have a lot of positive patients coming from hospitals which are not designated as COVID centers. And where did they come from? How did the transmission occur? Where was the point source? They all remain, they'll have to find out where it is. But then it's a worrying trend that we're getting positive patients, especially in healthcare workers in hospitals where they're not designated as COVID centers. Now, that is it is especially worrying because if the health workers get infected, then they'll start spreading to their patients and then to other health workers. So that is definitely a very worrying trend.
Absolutely. Dr. Sangeeta Datta, from the psychological point of view, it must be a lot of stress, even to be a medic during these times. We all know about that case in the US where a doctor ended up taking her life. She had joined duty again, a lot of stress. And, besides the patients, even the doctors need a lot of, probably they also need a sound psychological advice during these testing times.
Absolutely. Now, doctors who are working in COVID hospitals, and they're the frontline workers, and they're at very high risk of actually contacting this virus, like it's highly contagious, like we already know. Apart from that, the previous panelist, he has talked about, apart from the PPE kit, I think the virus is so small and so contagious that it is very difficult on the part of a health professional to take precautions all the time, round the clock, to be aware, to be cautious, because it is sometimes not humanly possible also. And especially if it's a red zone area, you don't even know who's carrying what when they come to your OPD, or maybe the person comes for some other complaints also, not necessarily respiratory symptoms, comes for bowel symptoms, comes for anything else. So that way doctors are at very high risk, and therefore psychological counseling is very important. We have been doing such things also, of course, we can't meet them, and this has been happening through video conferences and all the internet services that have been offered. But having said that, this has to be continued. It is not like we have a counseling session and the job is done, because this needs to be continued and continued till a point when this COVID-19 crisis is over, because everyone who's working in this area, they're under very severe stress. Some of them are just stressed out, but some of them have not been able to manage their stress, and sometimes stress leads to anxiety, depression, and sometimes acute stress can also lead to something we call psychosis, when a person can actually have delusions and hallucinations, in extreme cases. So we have to take care of the mental health of doctors, who are so crucial in managing this crisis at the frontline level. And a lot of them are stressed out, and as I have already said, proper counseling, and if necessary, some amount of medications, because this afternoon I was going to an interview on another local channel where a COVID center in Assam, there the psychiatrist was saying that they have had to prescribe, some sedatives or anxiolytics, not to doctors, even to patients who have been diagnosed as being COVID-19 positive. So if required, the anxiety levels have to be brought down through counseling, or sometimes even through medications. Why not?
Absolutely. We'll have to take a very short break here. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Bottom Line. We're discussing why, despite taking all precautions, even doctors are getting infected, and whether it is practical for a country like India to go for something like herd immunity. If I can go back to Dr. Sinrang Wardjri in Shillong. Dr. Wardjri, a lot of people have been saying it's not easy. It's not easy to be in a PPE kit for, say, 6 to 8 long hours. Doctors these days are stretching themselves for 10 to 12-hour long shifts. Have you ever tried the PPE kit yourself, and how difficult it is to be in that gear and discharge your duties to the best of your abilities?
Yeah, it's the PPE kit. I've tried it, but it's just part of a drill. I've never worked for 6-7 hours on it, so I don't exactly know how it feels. But then what my colleagues tell me, those who have been working there, is it's cumbersome. They have these layers of the PPE working, and they have a routine they have to go through, how to take it off, how to wear it. They have to be very specific how to take it off, how to wear it. And then the most annoying thing about it is when you wear it, it gets really stuffy inside. It gets really hot, and you sweat a lot. And if you start breathing inside, and then you start suffocating, because it's the air that goes inside. It becomes hot.
If you are sweating in Shillong, Shillong, then you can imagine what the condition would be in Guwahati.
Yeah, it'll be worse. So it's a difficult, and they're supposed to change it every 6 to 7 hours, but then they're stretching it 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. So the longer it takes, it's uncomfortable, but then it's not like it's doable. It's not that it's. Yeah,
Dr. Sangeeta, that a lot of the things that we do, every activity that we perform is as much mental as it is physical at the same time. And we need everything to be perfect when we are going about doing something, right? And that applies to almost every profession. How difficult it would be for a doctor to be in an uncomfortable sort of gear and still be very alert. That is, again, an added pressure that our medics are facing.
Absolutely. I have also spoken to my colleagues who have worn PPE kits, and they have been, in the front line. They have been the frontline workers in COVID-19 hospitals also. And what they have told me is that, like the previous doctor also said, that people sweat initially, in the first few minutes. It's so hot. And there's a suffocating feeling, the feeling as if they're going to panic, or some of them actually panic. And when people panic, there are some of them who are prone to, having anxiety attacks and panic attacks. They even feel that perhaps they're not being able to breathe, or maybe they'll die. So it's so uncomfortable to be in that situation. Of course, like he said, it's doable, and that's why people are doing it. And perhaps people are doing it for a lot of reasons. Like they're doing it for a sense of duty. They're doing it because they know many other people are doing it, so they have to do it. And some of them are, doing it for multiple reasons, even altruistic causes. But having said that, if you do it comfortably, it's always good. But to wear something like that and to be on duty for the next 8 to 12 hours or 10 hours, it is not a joke. And when we talk about even health professionals becoming infected, especially health professionals who are working in COVID-19 hospitals, and they're aware of the fact that the patient is COVID-19 positive, there is a possibility, this is my personal opinion, of course, because that kind of discomfort, people feeling suffocated, panicky, sweating like hell, not being able to, there being no respite, not being able to escape the situation, etc. I think in such uncomfortable situations, there will be lapses here and there, and perhaps some of the lapses have added to the doctors or the health professionals also getting infected, especially when they know how to wear it or how to take it off. They've been trained. But maybe there are lapses because of the discomfort also.
By large, we have still done an excellent job. Our medical professionals, our doctors have still done an excellent job if you consider the kind of stress. On an average, a doctor in a government hospital in India has to see 500,000 patients a day. We have friends in the UK where the NHS doctors have to now see 100 patients a day. That's too much of a task for them. So that way, our Indian doctors, we are used to these kind of stress, and we are doing an excellent job. If I can go back to Dr. Navajyoti Gogoi. Dr. Gogoi, a lot of people, a lot of experts are talking about something called herd immunity. Even in the West, the US, experts are pushing for an approach that may aid in developing herd immunity. But a lot of experts are also opposing it at the same time. My question is whether something like herd immunity is even practical in a country like India, because we still probably live with our elderly parents. We don't have enough living space in certain cases. So, it's confusing for a layman to understand, which way we should go.
See, so far in other pandemics, that's what we have observed. And people have adopted herd immunity in most of the diseases. Say, for example, recently H1N1. And we have developed herd immunity because nowadays in Dibrugarh, in district, I can tell you where ICMR is working very closely with us. If you take samples of, say, about 50 to 60 samples, then almost 60 to 70% of them comes out to be H1N1. Okay, and people have already developed herd immunity. But question is is this a disease that we can allow for? Hello.
Yes, go ahead. I can hear you.
Can we afford to go for herd immunity? The question is that. I think there are two angles to look into it. Another way, life loss. You are very right. We cannot lose life. So many lives. It will be a very tragic incident for us. We cannot allow that. Secondly, in a country like India, so if we send them to a home quarantine. So how many of us does have separate rooms for separate room and separate bathrooms for one person of the family to use it as a correct procedure of home quarantine? It is also not possible for a country like India, especially among medicals. If you ask me, for me it will be difficult at my home. These are things like that. We have never built our houses like that. That concept wasn't there. So someday it will require to quarantine one of our family members in our home itself. So those are questions that need to be answered. They need to be looked into. I think the whole world is turning into a very different sorts of perspectives. We'll have to have different sort of principles to live in, principles and the sort of different type of habit. We'll have to change our habit of living and standard of living like that to keep ourselves protected. And this is an indication. It might be a necessary rejection, never know.
Absolutely.
We are destroying the earth. We are really fiddling around the earth very badly. And we are killing our predators. Most of the predators are extinct. And probably that's why the bats and all those wild animals are coming next to us. They are
Absolutely,
getting
that's
overpopulated.
something that's a global
And that
call.
might be
that
some of the reasons
we should
that might be
ban all wet markets.
might be affecting us.
Dr. Vajri, the same question to you. When it comes to herd immunity, the common narrative, as far as common people are concerned, is to be or not to be, to do or not to do, because there's still a lot of things are unclear about what is the way forward.
Yeah, so herd immunity, I think it's rather too early to talk about herd immunity at this point in time, because as a strategy, herd immunity, I don't think it'll work. We've seen, we take a look at Sweden. Sweden has chosen the strategy of putting the country into the herd immunity approach, as opposed to a lockdown. That, in one sense, what it does is that you still have a majority of the population still working. So for the economy is good. But then if we look at the statistics, we have Sweden now with around 20,000 cases, but then the mortality is around 2,000 people are already dead because of COVID in Sweden. You compare that with India. India, we have 30,000 cases,
Yes.
and we have 1,000 cases of deaths. Right. So what it does, herd immunity, is that even if you're trying to infect everyone and expect them to get the antibodies, but then you also have a lot of people who are going to die because we already have a case fatality rate of these patients. These people will die. So it is like sacrificing a good amount of people who are going to die for a herd immunity. And for a country as big as India, we have 1.3 billion people.
Absolutely.
And to get a herd immunity, we'll be expecting about 70%, 80% of the population to get infected. That would be 1 billion again. So if even 1% of that are going to die, we're looking at 10 million? 10 million people will die before we achieve a herd immunity that is protective. So I think it's not really the time, and it's not really the option. The only way we can help improve the herd immunity is vaccination. So that is basically the aim of vaccination. You improve the herd immunity, but as of now, we do not have a vaccine. So I think herd immunity is it's not an option right now. It's really it's apocalyptic, I think.
Why do we still see a lot of experts within the country, within India, still backing herd immunity? What could be the logic? Because it seems a big risk, but then of course medical experts will be the best ones to comment on that. Why do we still see a lot of experts from the medical background still backing something like herd immunity?
Yeah, I still see a lot of people vouching for herd immunity. But I think, you see, it's a balance between lockdown and herd immunity. So what they do in herd immunity is that you let all young people below 60, 65 years of age, you get them you get them into the community and let them get infected. You segregate the older people and you protect them from infection, hoping that the rest of that young generation to have a good amount of antibody. But then there are too many unexplained answers with COVID. We still don't know how much immunity develops. We still don't know if those who have recovered have antibodies which are protective. We still don't know much about how the immunity develops. It's very complex in case of COVID right now. So there are still too many unanswered questions to really think about herd immunity as a strategy out of this. But then I think at some point in time, we cannot continue with the lockdown. The economy will start to fall, there will be loss of jobs and businesses will start crumbling. So there'll be a balance between that. I would say a strategy would be to slowly let the lockdown, decrease the lockdown, over a period of time, slowly release people into the community, hoping, that the community will get back the immunity. But then it's a funny strategy. It's about choosing which one is the better of the two. Both of them have their own ill effects.
Absolutely. Dr. Sangeeta Datta, we have heard a lot of people saying, you have to choose between life and economy. Well, easier said than done. But at the same time, both are important because people are also getting impatient. Technically, see, we do not know what the government will decide post May 3. It looks very likely that we are going to have a staggered exit. The steps have already the MHA today, for instance, said relaxing a little bit of norms to allow interstate movement. That only hints towards that. But then, mentally, from the psychological point of view, probably we as people, all of us are not ready for another extension of lockdown, maybe.
Yes, we are not prepared. And it's primarily because, like it's been discussed already, lockdown itself has a lot of other issues associated. A lot of people have lost their jobs. There are income issues, business issues. Businesses have crumbled, like he said. So, this will be a 40 days period of lockdown. And after that, what people are more prepared for these days, when I have discussed things even with my friends, they've said that we have learned how to be careful. We know what are the precautions to be taken. So maybe we start going to work. Maybe we start, one step at a time, not in one go, but slowly and steadily. Maybe there has to be relaxation in the lockdown procedure, and we need to again get back to normalcy, because otherwise, maybe we don't die of COVID-19 positivity, but we die because of other reasons. Maybe a lot of people are not even having food to eat, so we cannot allow that. So a very fine balance has to be struck between the two of following lockdown or following social distancing and the other measures, and also getting back to work or getting back to a normal life. If not a completely normal life, but a very fine balance has to be struck.
Dr. Nabajyoti Gogoi, well, things may look to be under control in Assam and the northeast for now, but the next big challenge, of course, will be post-lockdown when those stranded outside would come in. Is the northeast ready for the challenge? Is Assam ready for the challenge?
I know that's a very big challenge. We are working on it. We had meetings with the Health Minister, our Honorable Health Minister. He has been a very, very active. I'm telling you, he is leading the way in a very bigger way.
Absolutely.
And he's an exemplary man in the fight against COVID. And yesterday we had a busy with him. We are preparing ourselves for the next sort of the wave the people are coming. And we are going to segregate those people, those who are coming from hotspots, those who are coming from green zones. And accordingly, we are establishing our new quarantine centers to quarantine them in a proper place so that we don't get a community spread in our state.
Absolutely. Dr. Shinrang Warjri, well, Assam has been on the job. Assam has been on the job for quite some time now. Meghalaya is, yes, there have been 11 to 12 active cases in the state. All of a sudden, there was a surge in the number of cases. But Meghalaya is yet to handle a situation where, say 200 people came from outside and out of them 30 tested positive, or for that matter, putting to quarantine 200, 300 people. That situation has not arrived yet. But do you think the state is ready to, facilitate the regulated entry of the hundreds of youth, students, workers who would want to come back now that the MHA has facilitated the interstate movement? Do you think the state has a plan in place? Because first is you need enough quarantine centers. Second is you need enough awareness, because not everybody can be put into institutional quarantine. So the state machinery, does it look ready for that?
Well, the last time the government said they're ready for 10,000 patients with quarantine beds and everything. They've activated most of the hotels. They've activated many centers here and there. So as long as we don't have positive cases, they will be able to handle just about quarantine. I think it will not be difficult to quarantine them. I think we have around 10,000, 15,000 people planning to come back to Meghalaya. So those people can be handled in that sense. The question is, how much test can they do? Because we're very limited in terms of testing for these patients. With the last time we did a test, we were able to do about 800 tests in a week. So that is very less. And we don't have too many testing centers. We're still getting testing done at Barpeta. And we still have
Guwahati,
the resources are very less. So I think if it's only about quarantine, it's not difficult. But then if there is a positive case among them, it's going to get very, very difficult. The resources are definitely not enough.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Vajri, for joining us. Thank you so much, Dr. Gogoi, for joining us on Bottom Line. Dr. Datta will be digressing a bit today from the COVID-19 updates that we have been doing relentlessly for the last few weeks and a month. The nation today mounts the demise of an extraordinary talent. You know who we are talking about, the legendary Irrfan Khan, who made an indelible mark in everyone's heart through his stellar performances. He passed away at a Mumbai hospital, and this somehow we have had celebrity deaths in the past, but this somehow feels like a personal loss, for everyone. From the psychological point of view, for a person we haven't met once, okay? For those who know him personally, I'm sure the grief would be that much more. For those who don't even know him personally, it's still a void. What do you think, it's that kind of emotion?
It is primarily because, if you've watched his performances in his films, if you talk about Piku or Angrezi Medium or, all those films that he has done, if you look at his performances, he gets into the role and he makes you feel, you can connect with the character there. So somewhere, we have always loved him, the way he has worked and the way he has entertained us. And he's been, we've seen him in many intense performances, in characters. He has actually told us stories through his performances, that way. Because whenever I think of Piku especially, and many other movies, there was this movie called, I've forgotten, he was there, and then Shekhar Kapoor, Dimple Kapadia, there was a beautiful movie where, I couldn't forget Irrfan's performance.
His performances
so
stood
this
out.
person, yes, and this person, you tend to connect with this man. You tend to connect with the character, and you tend to connect with the man who's playing the character also. And apart from that, since 2018, ever since he was diagnosed with this rare neuroendocrine tumor, and the way he has fought back, the way he has stayed positive, that has been very exemplary.
All right.
And which actually made us feel that positivity works. And when suddenly he goes away, we have not been able to take it.
Point. We are joined over the phone by Reema Das, a filmmaker from Assam and a national award winner. Reema Das, as the nation mourns the death of a legend, what do you think set him apart? What was that thing about him that millions of common people are feeling a sense of personal loss today?
Because he is one of the finest and he is one of the rarest, I think, and he has left infinite legacy, and he's just a miracle, and he discovered something so new, so genuine, and it's actually, anyone, they can connect with him. He's so brutally honest, and he has got such wit and humor and intelligence. Whenever I watch him, I feel like a film he's bigger than the film. It's he's so much my also favorite. It's for me, from the time I got the news, I am shaking, I just can't believe that he has gone. So, it will be, for me also, it will be a regret that I couldn't meet him, and it was my dream that I will work with him. And also, he's the one I think I love because he crossed boundaries, not only in India, I can see around the world people are tweeting and people love him.
We are sorry about your grief, ma'am. Everybody is sad today. Yes, we know he was your personal favorite. Did you get an opportunity to meet him before? And if yes, can you share any personal experience that you remember in case you have met him before?
No, I didn't interact with him. I never met him. I didn't meet him. and that will be always my regret. And I'd have loved to, but I think he just gone so soon. Like it's like I feel like much more he could have given us, and it's very sad. And I feel very sad because no one is there like him. No one. He's with such intelligence, you know. I think he can push a director, and it's so good to see that everyone related with him.
Absolutely. And Rimadas, Irrfan Khan was a legend in the true sense, a self-made actor who made his way up with sheer talent and perseverance. Probably that's his legacy we should remember.
That's true, because it's not easy, because I came here to Bombay to become an actor, and he's not like the mostly Bollywood. They just look for the kind of good looking, you know, that he is not in that category. So I can imagine like his journey, how much I think he worked hard, and he is so courageous, you know, and from his interviews also you can find out that even he, I think, learned English also, and like working with also like outside India. I think it needs lots of courage, you know, and that's the reason he is our idol. We look up to him because he fought his own battle, and all the people who dream big and coming from kind of a background, no mentors or like, then they can relate with him definitely more.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Rimadas. It's a very emotional moment for you, we do understand, and it's an emotional moment for millions in this country today. Never before perhaps we have felt this sense of personal loss for somebody, and that's why they are called legends. But again, Dr. Sagita, last words from you. We also need to celebrate the life of this legend. Remember him in a way which gives us joy and motivates us to excel in whatever we do.
Absolutely. We need to celebrate his work. We need to celebrate his life. I've always loved his performances. In fact, I would like to mention when I had watched Maqbool for the first time, I cried when the character dies. Because, the way he performed, I cannot describe in words. Only when people watch his performance, then people will understand what I'm trying to talk about. It's not just Maqbool. It's been everything else. Pan Singh Tomar has been another. So every film that he has done. But apart from that, like you said, we need to celebrate his work. We need to remember his hard work, how he rose from nothing to, to a huge name and a celebrity in Hollywood, internationally actually, Hollywood and Bollywood both. And apart from that, this reminds me of something like, cowards die many deaths before they actually die. The brave die but once. So I always loved his work, but he became my role model ever since 2018. I loved his work since I don't know how many years.
Absolutely, all of us
Since 2018, he showed us, he showed to the world that he was a brave soul.
Absolutely.
And he was an indomitable spirit. He still is.
We pay rich tributes. We pay rich tributes to the legend on Bottom Line. That's a wrap of the show.